Many years after this story had taken place, I'm referring to the first reading, Shakespeare wrote, "The evil men do lives after them." But before Shakespeare had put this into pen, rather into writing, it had happened that Joseph had 11 brothers who didn't love him, and as you have known from the story of Genesis, decided to sell him as a slave. Now, yesterday we read that God decided to bless Jacob, their father, and then because of that, all the children were being blessed. In chapter 42, that we are reading from today, now we see what the evil that the brothers did to their own brother Jacob back then, Joseph rather, back then. But Joseph is initially tempted to repay them. Somehow his heart felt that he should pay them back. So we are told that when he first saw his brothers, he spoke harshly to them, number one, and number two, he put them into prison. So he was having the temptation to pay them back was there. But after some encounters, he realized that there's nothing good if you should pay back somebody who had wronged you even many years ago. So he decided to let go. I want to ask God to help those of us who have been hurt by even those who are very close to us. Sometimes our own children, sometimes our own spouses, sometimes our own parents. And the pain is so great, so hurting that we just can't forgive. Like Joseph, whom we are reading about this morning, no matter how painful it is, let us learn to forgive. Forgiving is a God-given gift. Pray for it, and God will help you to gradually let go of the past. Now, the brothers are talking about what they have done against Joseph, and then we are told that Joseph was moved to tears. His heart now becomes a merciful heart, and then somehow he sends the brothers away under certain conditions. The story unfolds in the coming days, but then the beauty of this story is that the brothers were doing all this, or they did that in the past, as a way of thinking of selling him away, paying him back, treating him evil. But in God's own way, what they planned to be evil has turned out to be a blessing. Because had Joseph not been sold to slavery many years before the incident happened, they would have died of famine. Because as we are told, there was famine all over the world. It is still true that God still writes straight on the crookedness of our lives. In their own crookedness of life, on their crooked lines of life, they sold their brother out. And yet, in selling their brother out, God had tried and still trying and will try and will continue to write straight on the crookedness of their lives. If you have made a mistake in the past, which has made your life crooked, it is not over. Because the God you worship, the God I worship, can still write straight on crooked lines of life. Amen.